Okay.
So, picking up where we left off, the kids that Elisha had attacked by bears, they're described as children. It doesn't seem like they were threatening him in any way. They're just making fun of him that he was bald. And incidentally, I'd like to draw the very stark contrast between Eliyahu and Elisha. Clearly, male pattern baldness has absolutely nothing to do with your prophetic reception. Whether you have hair or you don't, you grow it long or you keep it short. They're both tremendous Nevi'im. They both resurrected the dead. So it's just fascinating that the Mikra tells us this. Like, we need to know. Eliyahu had hair and he's described that way, and Elisha had none and he's described that way too. So, insofar as it matters. Plus, how would they know that he was bald? You have to assume they were wearing some sort of turban at the time. Maybe a little bit of it was exposed. Maybe he was really bald, like even on the side of his head.
Maybe nothing like kippah.
Probably
Something
a
like-
turban, yeah.
Like even a kippah like yours, like a bit bigger, but you would still see if someone is bald enough.
As far as we know from the Gemara, people were wearing turbans ever since. Meaning, what we call in Hebrew a mitznefet. So a mitznefet just means it's a long piece of cloth that you wrap around your head.
Like a sister, right? Kind of.
Yeah, but they didn't invent it. I mean, it was in use all over North Africa and the Middle East. North Africa since the conquest of the Muslims, anyway.
The picture we have from the Ben Ish Chai, it's like a turban that he's.
Yes, it's a very special one, but yeah, meaning it's intricate, and he describes how he used to wrap it in a certain way. Yeah, that he had kavanot for this too. Fascinating situation. Anyway, by Eliyahu, at least the people that he killed were described as, in that last instance, they were described as soldiers, an officer, for one officer for a group of 50 soldiers. Maybe they were either threatening him or insulting him, or as representatives of an idolatrous kingdom. Maybe he had the right to kill them, even if it wasn't strictly necessary. I mean, probably they were of the Avodah Zarah. If you're that close to the kingdom, the assumption is that you probably are. So if they're worshiping idolatry anyway, they were probably guilty and deserved to be punished one way or the other. It's that unless they went and literally knocked on his door, he probably would have left them alone. But because they came looking for him, Eliyahu doesn't have. He has a short fuse for Avodah Zarah. I think that's the good way to describe it. Okay, so we pick up where we left off. This is the beginning of chapter 3 in Malachim Bet. Either one of you would like to read? Well, welcome to.
Sure. No. So, beginning of chapter 3, Yehoram, son of Ahav, had become king over Israel in Shomron in the 18th year of Yehoshaphat, king of Yehuda, and he reigned for 12 years. He did what was evil in the eyes of Hashem, albeit not like his father and mother. He removed the pillar of the Baal his father had erected. However, he clung to the sins of Yehoram, son of Nebat, who caused Israel to sin. He did not deviate from them.
How big a difference there is between Yehoram and Ahav probably is a topic worthy of discussion at some point. I mean, it sounds like it's said to his credit that he wasn't as bad as Ahav, which sounds encouraging, except that it's a very poor yardstick to measure yourself against. I mean, so he wasn't the worst. He wasn't the most evil man who ever lived. It's an accomplishment because it could have been worse. And then he's described as evil as Yerovam ben Nevat, who was pretty bad. I don't know what Ahav did that Yerovam didn't, but if he lived long enough, he might have accomplished it.
But do we have enough information to do a hierarchy of that?
I mean, the Mikra just did. It tells you that he was very. And the other thing is that he was. It sounds like he had a very tight masoret, like a really good tradition from Yerovam, meaning maybe he held differently in Avodah Zarah. Maybe there was a machloket in terms of how they worship. What could be they worship different gods altogether. It sounds like it said on the one hand to his credit that he wasn't as bad as his father, which is also strange because you would expect him to follow in the ways of his father. That was pretty typical back in the day. And at the same time, it said that he went in the ways of Yerovam. By the way, Yerovam really is the contender. If he's not the worst king that ever ruled over the Israelites, He's probably an easy shoo-in for number 2, maybe 3, depends on how bad Omri was. But he's described.
I tell you, Achav was like the worst of the worst.
It seems like he really was. And then number 2 or 3 would probably be Yerovam. But every time you find someone compared to an evil king who went in evil ways, Yerovam is mentioned, at least 6 or 7 times in that context. It sounds like the Jews are holding, or the Israelites I should say, are holding from Yerovam's insanity even generations after he died. Like he inspired people to do certain things that maybe only became popular because he was doing them or because he recommended them. I don't know.
So because he was the first one after Shlomo with the separation of the two kingdoms. So
He must have innovated something or popularized something in order for his name to appear in this context. All I'm saying is that you don't find this comparison by Ahav. There's at least 6-7 times you have it mentioned by Yerovam. So I don't know. I'm just saying it's curious. It could be literally it's just a function. The distinction is not arbitrary. It's just a difference of the type of avodah zarah, maybe the number of different gods he worshipped. But either way, it's not flattering to him to be in that context, to be compared to him.
So but again, we don't know exactly what they did one against each other to make them a step higher or lower. We don't know exactly their.
I'd have to look into it. I just know that there's some very colorful midrashim and mishnayot and sugyot in the Gemara in the last chapter of Sanhedrin. They were pretty evil dudes. This was not secret to anyone. So, what exactly is the difference? You're talking about the difference between like ultraviolet and gamma rays. Both of them are almost beyond our comprehension. But I don't have specifics on what the one did or how the one beat the other. I could look it up though. Interesting to compare and contrast.
Mesha, king of Moab, was a herdsman. He paid the king of Israel 100,000 fatted sheep and 100,000 woolly ram. It happened that when Ahab died.
By the way, the Hebrew word kar can either refer to a fat sheep or to a pillow.
Okay. Interesting.
I guess fat individuals can double
Yes.
both as entities in and of themselves and as pillows if necessary.
It happened that when Ahab died, the king of Moab had rebelled against the king of Israel. King Yehoram went out of Shomron that day and mobilized all of Israel. He went and said to Yehoshaphat, king of Judah, saying, "The king of Moab has rebelled against me. Will you go to war with me against Moab?" He said, "I will go up. I will be like you. My people shall be like your people. My horses shall be like your horses." He then asked, "By which route shall we go up?" He replied, "By the way of the wilderness of Edom." The king of Israel, the king of Judah.
By the way, very common mistranslation in Hebrew. Midbar doesn't mean desert. Bar in Hebrew means wild or wilderness. So Midbar just means an unpopulated place. So Midbar Sinai is not. It's not. It happens to be a desert by our standards, but it's not that the word by its very definition means that we were wandering in the desert. It's more that it was an unpopulated place.
The king of Israel, the king of Judah, and the king of Edom then went up, traveled roundabout for 7 days, but there was no more water for the camp and the animals for the animals that were with them. The king of Israel then said, "Alas, Hashem has summoned these 3 kings in order to deliver them in the hands of Moab." So the king of Edom was partnering with Malchut Israel and Malchut Judah.
Get rid of a common enemy. Yeah.
So we were not always enemies with Esav, pretty much. It was the nascent Roman nation at this point?
No, Moab at this point. Moab is pretty consistent in their genealogy. Until some
we were not enemies with them?
Hashem tells Moshe just to leave them alone. Don't start war with them. They have a certain portion of the land that they get.
They are alike here. They're fighting with us here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why in particular at this particular time? Again, probably for political reasons, not because they're tzaddikim, but if it works for them and it works for us, okay.
So to deliver them in the hand.
So Moab has always been a bad neighbor. That the Gemara says emphatically. It doesn't seem like we ever had very much in common with them. And so he explains that the king of Moab has already started to rebel against him. And why not? When you can get yourself a political ally to help you go to war, it's not just for the extra soldiers, it's also for the political support. We're not the only nation that can't stand you and is going to fight against you.
Yehoshaphat said, "Is there no prophet of Hashem here, that we may inquire of Hashem through him?" One of the servants of the king of Israel spoke up and said, "Elisha, son of Shaphat, is here, who poured water over the hands of Elisha." Eliyahu, sorry. Yehoshaphat said, "The word of Hashem is indeed with him." So they went down to him. Sorry?
Did we skip a line?
Maybe.
Elisha,
Elisha, son of Shaphat.
oh, sorry. Okay, yeah.
Who poured water.
I'm
over
reading the Hebrew, not the English. Okay, sorry.
Yehoshaphat said, "The word of Hashem is indeed with him." So they went down to him. The king of Israel, Yehoshaphat, and the king of Edom. Elisha said to the king of Israel, "What have we to do with one another? Go to your father's prophet and your mother." The king of Israel said to him, "Do not speak thus, for Hashem has summoned these 3 kings to deliver them into the hand of Moab."
Meaning we're in a desperate situation. This isn't the time for you to give him musar about how many different gods my parents worshipped. Maybe some other time.
Elisha said, "As Hashem, master of legions," I guess it's Hashem's name.
So, yeah.
Lives before whom I stand, I swear that were it not for the presence of Yehoshaphat, king of Yehudah, whom I respect, I would not look at you nor see you. But now bring me a musician. It happened that the musician played, the hand of Hashem came upon him. He said, "Thus said Hashem, the valley should be made into many pools. For thus said Hashem, you will not see wind, and you will not see rain, but that valley will be filled with water, and you, your cattle, and your animals will drink. But this is yet trivial in the eyes of Hashem, for he will also deliver Moab into your hands. You will smite every fortified city, and every major...
Smite means to strike, usually meaning to kill.
Every major city you will fell.
Yeah, meaning to cut down, like okay. To fell a tree is to make the tree fall.
Okay, I was not sure I could read the... Wait, it's a bit shaky. You will fell every goodly tree and stop up all springs of water, and you will clutter up every goodly piece of land with stone. It happened in the morning, when the meal offering is brought up, that water began to come from the direction of Edom, and the land was filled with the water. All of Moab heard that the king had come up to wage war.
The kings
had come up to wage war against them, and they were mustered. For everyone who girds a sword belt and a cord, and they stood at the border.
Right.
When they arose early in the morning, as the sun shone upon the water, from afar the Moabites saw the water as red as blood. They exclaimed, "This is blood." The kings must have drawn sword and smitten one another. So now, Moab to the spoils. So
meaning they must have the coalition must have collapsed. There must have been some kind of a civil war or some kind of fighting between them. It's going to be even easier for us to defeat them now than it was otherwise.
So they entered the camp of Israel. The Israelites rose up and smote Moab, and they fled from them. They struck at them, repeatedly smiting Moab. They destroyed the cities into every goodly piece of land. Each man threw his stone and filled it. Every spring of water they stopped up, and every goodly tree they felled. The only stones they left in the wall was the mortar. The shooters.
By the way, haraset, so haraset in Hebrew, like haraset.
Okay. Ah, okay.
In other words, they broke the stones out of the walls and they left only the cement that holds them.
The shooters then went around and destroyed it. When the king of Moab saw that the war was too difficult for him, he took 700 swordsmen with him to break through to attack the king of Edom, but they couldn't do so. He then took his firstborn son, who was to reign after him, and sacrificed him as a burnt offering upon the wall, and a great wrath took effect against Israel. So they turned away from Elisha and returned to the land. There's something I don't understand here. So
There's only one thing you don't understand.
there's plenty, but the one that shocked me the most is like, so they're about to lose the war. This guy sacrificed his son to Avodah and then
No, so it seems like it's Mesha, the king of Edom, who's allied with the
okay.
Malchut Yisrael, Malchut Yehuda, and that apparently this rage against Am Yisrael was that they saw it happening and they could have or should have said something and they didn't.
Oh, okay. Okay, I understand.
Sorry,
A little better.
Mesha, the king of Moab, killed the firstborn of the king of Edom.
Ah, okay, I understand.
Yeah, he made a human sacrifice out of him. Yeah, it's unclear exactly what the relationship was between Moab and Edom at the time, just that Edom seems not to care very much for Moab and the feeling seems to be mutual. And Edom was, everyone was upset with Israel over with the Jews, over why they didn't prevent that from happening. Because it's described that he offered him as a sacrifice, not that he just killed somebody in war, but it sounds like he was literally offered as a sacrifice, so that's a little bit...
So they captured him?
They captured him. They tried to reach his father and they couldn't. And so he kills his father's firstborn. So the Qitz of Gedol Israel, this great anger, the rage that directed at Am Yisrael, coming from the Edomim, who said, why didn't you stop this, or how couldn't you prevent this, etc. To offer him as a sacrifice seems like he did it in a very public way. He wants everybody to see this, look what I'm doing, etc. ISIS, YouTube videos. So, a couple of very curious notes. I mean, first of all, anybody have any questions about any of this? Hopefully by now you guys are developing an appetite for the curious aspects of
I mean, there are plenty of
prophets and
there are
prophecies.
plenty of things that just make clear sense. Why did they see blood if it was just water? Is it like another kind of macabre?
Yeah, miraculous kind of thing that's happened before.
Okay.
In Egypt, I don't think it was meant to lead them to believe that anybody had died. It was just a disgusting thing.
Yeah.
Here, apparently, was supposed to inspire them to go into war more violently because they would be punished more severely. I mean, they managed to kill the firstborn of one of the kings they were fighting against, but it wasn't like they won the war. They saw they couldn't win, they ran away, but that much damage they did. How about, did you catch that when Elisha asks for a musician?
Yeah.
Really?
No, I mean, I meant to ask you, but I thought you would stop us at some point.
So he's a Navi. He can look at people and either kill them or cause them to die.
Why do we need music for
When it comes to Nebuah, he's like, where somebody get me a radio?
that?
So you don't miss these details. If you want to understand Tanakh, you have to appreciate the fact that all of these details are there for a reason. And they come to teach you things, sometimes in a direct way, sometimes in a very indirect way, that you otherwise have no way of knowing. What was going on at the time when Elisha requested this musician?
So they had no water at this point?
Well, that they had no water was one thing, but he just expressed himself. He just said something pretty conclusive about how he feels about helping them with the war effort.
But
If it weren't for Yehoshaphat, I wouldn't be talking to any of you.
why is he even
The
coming?
king of Edom, no offense, probably wasn't a great tzaddik. And if for political reasons we ended up
Why was
allied
he
with him,
even
it was only
coming
temporary.
In the first place, why was he even coming with them if he didn't want to take any part in the war effort in the first place?
It's a good question. If I'm not mistaken, Elisha, so Yehoshaphat himself, so why would Yehoshaphat participate with them? Oh, Elisha says, I'm only here because he's here. And if it weren't for him and I respect him, I wouldn't even help you. Okay, so why is Yehoshaphat, who's otherwise, let's say, who just received his prophetic approbation? So Elisha approves of him and he's okay with him. Then why would he join this somewhat unholy alliance? So a couple of things. Number one, Moab weren't tzaddikim. If it was appropriate, not appropriate to fight them at this particular time, they certainly have nothing to defend themselves with. They were not a very righteous or spiritual nation, never have been. So, if the opportunity arises to attack a nation that's pretty famous for its evil, maybe it wasn't a bad thing. But Yehoshaphat probably saw that there was something to be gained from the political alliance. Remember, we saw this at the end of Melachim Aleph, right?
Where they had already a war together.
Where they already had gone, they waged a military campaign together. It wasn't a bad thing. It's weird to us that you would become an ally with someone who is so ideologically opposed to you.
Well, if you come back a few 1,000 years later, now in the modern state of Israel, you have some religious and some Chilonim who go to war together.
Yes, in the positive sense, and then you also have nations that used to be really there was just a lot of animosity, let's say, or even actual warfare, that all of a sudden become our friends. Jordan participated in the 6-Day War. They participated in the war in 1948. And all of a sudden, Jordan's giving and receiving military intelligence from Israel, as is Egypt. So some of these countries have changed their approach. And as long as it benefits us, it benefits them, etc. What's the nature of these alliances? Probably not super strong. But insofar as everybody benefits from it, it's the nature of politics. Yehoshaphat, don't forget, is the king of the lesser kingdom.
In terms of size,
if anyone, spiritually he's a tzaddik. He's a tzaddik over 50, 100 people. I mean, it's not a very big empire, Malchut Yehuda. So it could be that he was more sensitive to the need for unification, maybe, or he felt like good things could potentially come of it. Maybe some kind of rapprochement between Malchut Yehuda and Malchut Yisrael. Don't know. I was surprised to read a couple of months ago that apparently South Korea has, as part of their government, a whole commission dedicated to the reunification of, South and North Korea. Meaning North Korea doesn't want to talk about it, never interested in it, never expressed any interest in it, and South Korea has been trying for the past, the war in Korea, 57, 58, they've been trying for the past 50, 60 years to reunify, even though North Korea doesn't want anything to do with it. So you try, you invest some effort, you invest something in it. So he's saying, look, here's Moab, they're an evil nation. We can enlist the help of Malchut Yisrael. I mean, they came looking for us, but why not? And I guess he felt that if he didn't somehow join hands with them, or if he hadn't been a little bit more open to it, maybe he would lose some of his constituents to Malchut Yisrael, to Avodah Zarah. Who knows? We don't find that he's reproached for doing it. Again, very helpful to know if somebody got punished for something, and we don't find that he was. And because he lends his name to this military campaign, they managed to curry the favor of Elisha. So Elisha tells Yehoram, why are you coming to me? Go ask your fathers and your mothers Avodah Zarah. I mean, there are other prophets out there. You don't need my help. He shares Eliyahu's sense of humor. Eliyahu has no problem cracking jokes at the expense of Avodah Zarah, of course. So he's telling him, what do you need from me? And he says, no, you don't understand, the situation is desperate. And so Elisha's response is, listen, even if I help you, it's only thanks to Yehoshaphat, right? Which, by the way, raises another fascinating question. And it's my hope, guys, I'm not here to ask the questions for you. I just hope that I can teach you to ask some of these questions yourself. I'm only here because of Yehoshaphat. If it weren't for Yehoshaphat, whom I respect, I wouldn't help you. Does that mean that were it not for Yehoshaphat being part of this military campaign, it would have failed?
We can't say that. One way or the other, we have no idea.
We can ask.
Yeah.
We can ask. If Yehoshaphat doesn't join this alliance between Malchut Yisrael and Malchut Edom, does the military campaign succeed or fail? Don't know. Doesn't look promising, but we don't know. Does Elisha have the power to make these miracles happen if Yehoshaphat is not there? Is that a better question? We can define the question. I don't know if he can or if he can't. I don't know if it's his merits or Yehoshaphat's merits or the merits of Malchut Yehuda or if it's a combination of them. All I'm telling you is these are the kinds of questions you have to ask yourself. You're asking for miracles to happen. Miracles are expensive, yes. They cost money. If you're going, you pay for them with your merits. If you're going to be requesting something as miraculous as water coming up from the ground, inspiring your enemies through the water miraculously turning into blood, and winning a war that apparently was somewhat in question, you have to wonder whose merits you're leaning on. Okay? I'll give you another really good example. This is the example Rav Rebbe gave us, so if you ever heard it before, you'll forgive me. A little bit of Hazara, never heard anyone. The story, the end of the first chapter of Masechet Avodah Zarah, the Gemara tells the story of the famous story of Rabbi Meir Ba'al HaNes. Why is Rabbi Meir referred to as Rabbi Meir Ba'al HaNes? Namash on one foot. Rabbi Meir was married to the daughter of Rabbi Hana ben Taradion, right? Biruriya. So, Rabbi Hana ben Taradion was one of the 10 Harugei Malchut, one of the 10 martyrs that was killed for teaching Torah in public. The Gemara says that maybe what he was teaching was a little bit more along the lines of practical Kabbalah, the pronunciation of different names of Hashem. If students pronounced the name of Hashem, they weren't supposed to, they were supposed to have Kavanot, whatever it was, but he was punished for this. So apparently he was supposed to know it was inappropriate. So he was burned alive with a Sefer Torah wrapped around him. His wife was killed because imagine this, she herself should have known this was inappropriate and she could have stopped him, but she didn't. Right? Like I expect my wife to walk around knowing different names of Hashem and the permutations and combinations, which ones you can pronounce, which ones you can't. Okay, they don't make women like they used to. And his daughter, the Gemara describes it this way, I'm just going to tell you what it says, that she was walking past Roman soldiers and they made some comment, the way soldiers and construction workers tend to do. They made some comment about how pretty she looks when she's walking. So she started walking like a model would, meaning she started walking heel to toe, like nice, noble or aristocratic kinds of steps, something like this. Maybe to attract more attention from them. It's not so clear what she was hoping to gain. At any rate, they decreed against her that she should be forced into sexual slavery. Okay, not a new concept. It was the Romans then, it's the Arabs today. So they put her in this harem in which she was expected to render services to Roman soldiers. And Biruriya tells Rabbi Meir, I can't stand the humiliation. I need you to free her from this. So Rabbi Meir says, fine. And so the Gemara tells us that he dresses or makes himself appear like a Roman soldier, or a Roman knight. He approaches her and he says, he solicits her services, and she tells him, no, I can't be with you, I'm a nida. It's not a good time. So Rabbi Meir says, if that's what she says to me, probably it's what she said to everyone up until now. And he proceeds to perform a miracle. He threw some meat to the dogs, and there's a guard who recognizes that he's trying to let her go. He says, you can't do that. And he tells the guard, don't worry. If they come looking for you, all you need to say is, Elaha de Meir Anani. That's the origin of this tefillah that we say during Slichot and during the Yomim HaNora'im. So not Elaha de Rabbi Meir, Elaha de Meir Anani. Those are the words of the Gemara. And when he let her go and they realized what happened, they started chasing after him and he ran away. It's one of those sugyot that teaches you 1,000 things about miracles that you didn't know. One of them is, why did he give the Roman soldier this incantation and he himself runs away physically? You would think, so set off a nuclear bomb, kill all of them, and walk away like a superhero in a movie. Why does he run physically from them?
He could have performed a miracle for himself.
I don't know if he could or if he could. Those are the questions that you have to ask. If you really want to learn, this is learning Gemara. It's not just about bulls hitting cows and causing monetary loss. This is Gemara. This is Ruach HaKodesh. It's miracles. It's Hashgacha. Divine intervention. How do these things work? So the Gemara tells you, but it doesn't tell you directly, it tells you kind of indirectly. The soldiers catch up with this one guard, and they said because he allowed her to leave, he's to be hanged. They tried to hang him. He said, something went wrong with the noose, and he ran away. He ran away and they couldn't catch him. Rabbi Meir, they put up signs all over the Roman Empire that they're looking for him. And so he ran away to Babylonia and he stayed there. Okay, I have at least 2,000 questions. I'm not going to ask all of them now. But the question that's most relevant to what we're doing here is, why does Rabbi Meir attempt to engage in some kind of a relationship with his sister-in-law, mind you, who doesn't recognize him? What's the point? If you're going to save her, save her. If you're not going to save her, why does he even wait for his wife to tell him this is a humiliation? She's like, she has to come out. Maybe she deserved a certain degree of punishment. So he didn't do anything, he didn't initiate it. It comes from his wife. Okay, so my sister-in-law is in a bad situation. This isn't going to be easy. It's going to require probably lots and lots of merits. Do I have to spend my own merits getting her out? Or can I send her the bill? It's a good question. It's a good question. So, could he have done anything miraculous for her if she had allowed herself to be defiled? I can't say yes, I can't say no. Maybe he would have had to pay it anyway. Maybe he was just trying not to. Maybe, if she deserves to be punished, he's just taking her merits and doing a miracle for her that she couldn't do, but it wasn't coming out of his spiritual pocket. I don't know. I'm asking questions.
If he was ready to pay for it from his account, let's say.
Yeah.
Why would he even ask? But, okay, maybe if she has it in her account, she will pay. If she doesn't,
that's the question. At every single step in this story, you have to say to yourself, why on earth did he do this, and why didn't he do this? And this is the way the Gemara is. It's the nature of Gemara. And you learn Tanakh the same way. Every single pasuk comes to teach you something. Maybe you know, maybe you don't, maybe you can figure it out, maybe you can't. But these questions are very powerful questions. If you're going to save her anyway, why would you try to seduce her into doing something that's asur? Maybe that was a merit for her. Maybe she had the opportunity to do an avirah if she wanted to. I'm sure every woman's dream is to be held as a captive. I don't know. But if she wanted to do something wrong, that was the opportunity. She decided she's not going to do it. Maybe that helps. Maybe, because it seems what he says afterwards is, if that's what she's telling me, that must be her line. That's like her response to everybody. You know, I want this one. No, not for me, not now. It's a bad time. Okay. So it sounds like he's looking for merits. Literally looking for merits. He wants to know, in whose name he can make the miracle happen. Why do we ask these questions? Because how generous is Rabbi Meir with merits when it comes to saving himself?
Apparently,
how many miracles does he do for himself? He doesn't do any miracles for himself.
He's right.
This is my retirement account. What do you mean? I'll go into it if I have to, but if I can avoid it, why would I not? So he's very stingy with his merits. Listen, I spent a lot of years studying, a lot of years doing mitzvot. Let's be careful here. I know that she's in a bad position. It doesn't mean we have to do something crazy. So he does what he throws meat to the dogs to keep them quiet. Beseder. When it comes to the guard, he could have killed him. The guard wasn't a bad guy. At the end of the day, he allowed him to leave. So that wasn't necessary. This isn't sick the bears on him or blow him up. I mean, Rabbi Meir is a little bit more subtle. So the guard is a helpful guy, and so he's willing to spend merits on him. And again, maybe some of the merit comes back in the sense that if he allows me to leave with her, already he deserves something.
How does the guard believe him?
I don't know if the guard believes him so much as he's just shocked or...
Maybe he would lose more merit by killing the guy if he's not really a bad guy.
Also could be. And by the way, where can you prove this from? Moshe and his interaction with Korah.
Moshe doesn't kill him.
Which the Midrash says Moshe doesn't kill him. Moshe doesn't kill him. Hashem kills him. What does Moshe do in the story?
He says Hashem will decide.
He says it befirush. What does he do?
He asked him for, he said that he never took anything for himself.
First of all, I have merits, and if I did anything wrong, feel free to punish me. And what does he say specifically about Korah?
Punish. Yes?
Al tefen el minchatam. Don't accept their mincha. The Midrash says, if Moshe hadn't said this, their mincha would have been accepted. Again, this is this classic photo-negative limud. If Moshe has to say, don't accept their mincha, I learned from this, it probably would have been accepted if he hadn't asked. So what's Moshe's role? It's not like Moshe, that's not Eliyahu Navi with Nevi'ei Habal. That's not me versus 450 of you. You bring your bull, I bring mine. One of them gets accepted, one of them doesn't. Moshe and Korach is the opposite. Moshe says, look, maybe they have some good intentions. This is getting very sophisticated and difficult, and most people don't understand. So, although their menachot might have been accepted, I need to incur Hashem's miraculous intervention here to prevent them from being accepted in a public forum. So people shouldn't think there's more legitimacy to what he's saying than there actually is. So Moshe himself offers him this duel. He offers him this standoff. I'll bring Aaron brings his mincha, you bring yours, and then behind the scenes he pulls the strings and he says, just Hashem, don't accept the menachot. Maybe they would have been accepted. The compromise is that the gold that they used for the shovels in which they present the ketoret, we melted it and we made a cover for the mizbeach, like a decoration for the mizbeach. So there was something to it. In other words, at least the good part of the spirit of Korach lives on in the sense that it became a fixture on the mizbeach. But the menachot themselves, he asked that Hashem shouldn't accept it. If he asked that Hashem shouldn't accept it, probably it's because they would have been accepted if he didn't ask. And so Moshe has to use some of his merits in order for this to happen. Okay, he made a request, he has to pay for it. When it comes to, or at least a request that was otherwise not going to be honored, it seems like. If he hadn't made the request, it wouldn't have happened. Now we come back to Rabbi Meir. If he's able to do miracles for a Roman guard, think about this, right? One of those questions that after you hear the story a few times, you start asking yourself. A Roman guard who's in charge of keeping these women captive so that they can perform all kinds of mitzvot with them. What merits does this guy have? I mean, really.
Well,
he's probably the single most despicable, after the Caesar and a few of his friends, I mean, he's probably the most despicable human being in the entire Roman Empire.
I don't think he cares about him. It looks like he cares about saving her.
I don't know. It's another question. I'm not saying that he cares about it. I'm saying this guy, if he's holding these women captive, okay, unfortunately Jewish women amongst them, he's holding these women captive for the most unholy of Arabic purposes. What is it that Rabbi Meir wants or doesn't want for or from this guy? If he can do the miracle without him being involved, maybe he would do it. Does this guy all of a sudden have merits that he deserves miracles? Is this the only way that this could happen? Doing it another way would have been even more expensive and not even worth it? Or
if he's already pulling off miracles, why does if there are already Jewish women there, why does he say only one and not the rest of them?
I assume there are the Jewish women there. I mean, I can't tell you as a matter of fact. But if there were, that's another. It's a perfectly. It's a perfectly valid question, right? If already you're performing a jailbreak, just take everyone with you.
Yeah.
I don't know the nature of these other women. I don't know what else was going on at the time. What I can tell you is that one crucial detail of the story is that her father would be Halim Taradon, meaning she must have grown up in an observant family and had a number of merits. Maybe not enough to save herself from this particular situation, but at least enough that he should risk his life in order to do this. Risk his life or risk his merits. It depends how you look at it. Which brings the question back. Is he doing this exclusively on his own merits? Could he have done this for someone else? Could he have done this for her if she had allowed herself to, make mistakes? Don't know. And even if something did happen, she's held captive at knife point. I don't know.
That's really her fault.
Very, very good questions to ask. The Rambam says classically, what we refer to as, let's say, the big three. So Gilo Arayot, Shefichut Damim, Avodah Zarah, sexual misbehavior in all of its myriad New York forms, murder in any way, I mean you killing someone else to save your own life, the Nuremberg principle, and idolatry in any of its forms. Those three, although you should always, try to escape, but if you can't, those are in the category of Gehareg Vali Avor, along with anything else that was decreed the Jews shouldn't do in a public way out of sheer anti-Semitism. So if there's a law that says Jews can't eat kosher meat, then we have a mitzvah to defy it. But the Rambam says, although we're familiar with the expression from the Gemara that always Yihareg Vali Avor, you should prefer to be killed and not transgress these mitzvot, these avirot, nonetheless, he said, Beit Din cannot punish you for doing it. In other words, if you deserve to be punished, it's in the hands of Hashem. because what you did was under duress, under risk of life and limb. We know what halacha would be in this case, but it's not for us to exact a punishment from someone who, even if I were a flower, a fly on the wall in this harem, and I said, the daughter of Rabbi Chaim Toradion, please don't do this. It's a punishable crime. You can be, in theory, a Bedin could punish you for it, but it's not true, because having been held like that, true, it would be the right thing to do is not to do it, obviously, but her not submitting to being killed in that type of situation is not necessarily the definition of a capital crime.
But it's not clear also that she had a choice of being killed or
also true.
submitting.
Also true. Like Esther, it's not clear that if she said, "Well, kill me, I don't want to be married to the king," they'll beat her up and they'll make her the queen anyway. They don't care. If they're not Arabs, they're Persians. Same thing. So these are all excellent questions. But the reason these stories appear in technicolor, high definition detail is because anyone who wants to understand what's going on, you investigate these details. And Rav Kook has a very beautiful essay on this, where he talks about the Midrashim, he talks about the Agadot of Chazal. He says, if you don't learn them in the same way, in the same exacting, meticulous way that you learn every other sugya in the Gemara, you're missing half of what Chazal wanted to teach you. And this is how one achieves the Ruach HaKodesh. This is how you achieve a deeper understanding of miracles and merits and demerits and purity and impurity. You need to know these rules. Some of these questions aren't answered explicitly by the Gemara because they put them on a high shelf. Only someone who's supposed to reach it will reach it. But these are perfectly legitimate questions to ask. I don't know how many merits Rabbi Meir had. I don't know how many merits his wife or his father-in-law, mother-in-law, or his sister-in-law had. All I can tell you is that the story happens in a certain way which leads us to believe a certain number of things. Number one, you don't waste your merits where it's not necessary. Even if it's necessary to spend some merits, doesn't mean you have to spend all of them. Right? The adolescent effect. Just because you have money in your account doesn't mean you have to spend all of it. I know, tempting, but no. Save some for a rainy day. Maybe tomorrow he has another miracle to do. Huh? Right. So we can discuss. When you're about to do these things, it's never too late to try to bring out new merits out of someone. The Gemara says, for example, in Masechet Kiddushin, that if a man tells a woman, you're hereby, he proposes marriage to her, on the condition that she be a tzaddik gamor. The Gemara says, Mekudeshet. Why is this? Rashi says, because a man who says such a thing wants to be a tzaddik as much as he wants to marry this woman, and so, therefore, at least for an instant, he must have done teshuvah. And if he did teshuvah instantaneously, he becomes a tzaddik. You'll laugh. When it comes to Beit Din, morbid example, but in order to be a kosher witness for to sign a get, we need two witnesses. And so, the witnesses who are about to sign, we have a little declaration. They have to announce that they're doing teshuvah before they sign, so that if, in case anything they ever did made them invalid as witnesses, gambling or I don't know what, if they ever violated Shabbat.
That would make somebody.
Technically, it's a document that has financial consequences to it. So if you do amirot in the field that we're asking you to testify about, generally speaking, you're not eligible to be a witness. Someone who eats at McDonald's tells you that meat's kosher, that meat's not kosher. I don't know how seriously I take this guy's advice. Maybe in some cases, yes, in some cases, no. So, so these questions, the questions need to be asked. Just because you need to do something that involves miracles doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. He could have told her, no, I can't do miracles. It's over my head. It's too much. Does it matter that she was his sister-in-law? Would he have done this for anyone else? I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. Does it depend on her merits? Is it really her parents' merits? Maybe. A combination of the two? Was it the fact that she refused to him? Was that only to check that she refused to everybody? In which case, this becomes easier. Would it have been possible if she didn't refuse? What's the role of the guard? Is the guard there, meaning he does whatever he can because that would have been too much? He didn't want to spend that many merits on doing something miraculous to make the guard disappear or something? I don't know. And then when it comes to running away, yeah, it looks like he probably could have done something miraculous, but it was already a very expensive intervention. So at some point he says, look, I've given away a lot, I just can't give any more than this, and I'd rather run away than die without merits. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So what about
I was going to ask the same thing.
So what about the musician? So where is Elisha when what's his if we had to conjecture a little bit his state of mind? He sees Yehoram.
Was he upset because of what he's seeing? When he says, bring me music so the prophecy come back to me. Because we see now that if you are in a state of anger, you cannot really prophesy. So
Yafeh. And this is where we learn it. This is the binyan av. This is the source for that limud, where Elisha is angry. Why is he angry? Because a psychopath, idolatrous king is standing in front of you, on his hands and knees, and begging you, please, I need you to help me. You need me to help me. Go ask the gods of your father and your mother. What are you coming to me for? All of a sudden, you believe in Hashem, and there's no atheists in a foxhole, as we say in English. Now, in the time of war, you realize that you're starving. There's no water. All of a sudden, you remembered, maybe I should ask a real prophet. You've got people on payroll. Ask them. So, Elisha is angry. Okay? It's okay to be angry every so often. It's not compatible with prophecy, but it's every so often he gets upset. It doesn't look like Eliyahu ever got angry to the point that he lost the Ruach HaKodesh. I'm just putting that out there. Don't know. Not for me to compare and contrast, but we don't see that Eliyahu ever lost his connection.
But it's interesting that even with like dealing with Achab and all those idiots, he never. So if it's the case, he never loses his cool, pretty much. Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, maybe we can say something different. Maybe we can say that Eliyahu could have gotten angry at Achab. In fact, we discussed the possibility of killing him, which may or may not have been a good idea. I don't know if Eliyahu regrets it. I doubt it. He probably knew what he was doing, but maybe killing him would have involved a certain degree of anger that he didn't want to get into because he didn't want to lose Nubuah. So I could get angry about this. Really, in the grand scheme of things, it's not worth it.
Well,
And he lets it
people
slide.
without being angry.
Right. I guess to perform that, to blow people up like that with fire from the sky, maybe anger wasn't the word. I mean, zeal, irritation. Maybe you can be irritated without being angry.
So can we say that?
Because really, the more zealous he is in the name of Hashem, it doesn't personally offend me that you worship Avodah Zarah. It offends my God, man. Like it's bigger than me. You know, I don't want to kill you, but I have to. Like killing you is the only way to save you. I don't know. If he were angry, I doubt it would have worked.
So it's the second time pretty much Elisha gets angry. With the bear story,
Right.
he was not so happy with it.
Right. There he was
not
punished.
angry to that point.
There was punished, but here he concedes at the end. I mean, he allows it to happen. Look, it's not only that. It's that he knows himself well enough to know that he's angry, and if he needs to re-achieve the level of nevuah, he knows the remedy. It's just,
Music is gonna happen.
he got angry. Okay, I need to settle down. Bring me somebody to play something.
You know what? Do we know what?
It must have been Led Zeppelin. There's no way anything else could
What else
have
could it
brought
be?
the prophecy back.
Stairway to Heaven.
Sure. Just throw it at him. There we go. Chazak. He must have been playing classic rock. Anyway, at the end of the day,
But there is no
I don't know if
reference
this is
to
the
kind of
first
music in
time.
the Gemara or anything like
Doesn't
that.
tell us. Doesn't tell us. If I had
Or
to,
instruments or anything like that.
I don't want to say a harp specifically.
I'm picturing a harp, but
Yeah, I don't know. No, the harp is ultimately the predecessor of the lute. A lot of majestic music was played that way. I don't know. So at the end of the day, Elisha, maybe he had been angry before. Maybe he knew. Maybe this works for him. Does it work for everybody? According to the Rambam, the Nevi'im need to be exposed to. They need to be under pleasant circumstances in order to prophesy. So they have to be near some form of ketoret, according to the Rambam also, something pleasant smelling. There can't be any foul odors, any major distractions, let's say, from focus and concentration. And he holds that music apparently was a potentially important feature, especially here where he's angry. So he just saw his arch nemesis. This is a psycho king. He has nothing to do with him, and he's only there because of Yehoshaphat. And even this isn't enough to calm him down. So. Okay, bring me someone who can play some music. I need to focus. I need to get back on track. Anyway, wow. We went a little bit late. So let's take a quick 2-minute break. And where did we leave off? We left off at...
we finished chapter 4.
We finished chapter 3.
We commented chapter 3, sorry, beginning of chapter 4. I'm not sure if we commented everything, but it's okay.
Right. No, actually the next parak is also Haftarah. That's where Elisha resurrects the child. Okay, so
Kind
go.
of the story of the vessels with the oil.